The ongoing horror of child marriages. I got to do another video on this because my last video I just did when I talked about a child marriage, I wasn't clear enough, and it may have been misleading in how. And so I had a really good comment that really put it in perspective. And it says, I'm thinking that an 11-year-old girl is still just a child. That's absolutely, there is no question at all. It probably wasn't her own idea to lie. I agree there. I should have mentioned that. Likewise for girls who are 14 or 15. They're still children. I doubt that many girls that young actually want to marry much older men. I gotta agree with that. Yeah. She was probably pushed into getting married and thus lying by her parents and or the groom. A child that young doesn't have the agency to make such a major life decision. It's up to the adults around her to make these decisions for her. So she's, the commenter is, you're absolutely right. I probably should have liked that comment. Extremely young girls have been getting pushed into marriage. It's hard to even say that it's really a marriage, but yes, they've been pushed into marriage with older men, usually much older men, since the dawn of humankind, and it's still common in some parts of the world. With child marriages, it usually isn't the girl's idea. Well, yeah, absolutely. And I should have been clear on that. I know I use this because it's from the movie Liar Liar, I think in the movie she was 17. So it didn't seem, had she been 14, yeah, that would have been, I wouldn't have made the mistake. I would have been much clearer. But the commenter is absolutely right that the culpability is on the adults, and it's quite something that child marriage is still a thing, and I wouldn't. The only thing I would disagree with here is that since the dawn of humankind, I think having older, adults, much older men marry children is probably rooted more in religion, because that's really where you tend to see that it's usually a religious thing. So that's my only issue there. I would say maybe since the dawn of religion, religious zealotry and fundamentalism, it really is disturbing that even today, you have religious zealots in the United States that want to get rid of the age of consent and in a minimum age to marry, which is just horrific to me. It's just the numbers that you see in Texas from 2000 to 2014, almost 40,000 children were married. In Florida, 16,400 children, some as young as 13, were married. From 2000 to 2017, which is the second highest instance of child marriage after Texas. These are just, wow. That is insane that this is still happening, and it's horrific, and the children that are involved are never culpable. It's something that they're forced to do, and I should have been more clear with that. It's insane that this is still happening. And I think one of the worst cases that I'd ever seen is, again, I don't like to call it a marriage. Charlie Johns and Eunice Winstead. Look at this. She was 9 years old. 9 years old when forced into this marriage. Now I know you see a lot of comments. Well, it was it was the depression and it was the difference between starving. But the child is still the victim. The child is always the victim. So you can put it in any kind of terms you want, that it was the depression, it was Appalachia, and it was common, or you can make all these excuses, and that's all they are, is they're excuses to justify forcing a child into a predatory situation like that instead of protecting them. That this idea, well, it was a different time. It was frowned on back then too. There were laws about child rape. There were laws about rape. A 9-year-old, even a 15-year-old with a 35-year-old or even a 25-year-old, especially if there's a power dynamic. That's why police are not supposed to sleep with suspects. Unless you ask police, So This is they don't have the requisite mental capacity and reasoning ability to make a decision to whether I have sexual relations or not. So 9 years old. I mean, all right, come on, the guy's a pedophile. He's a sexual predator. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can't justify it by saying, well, they were married until he died and they had 9 kids and he was 84 years old and no. And you can't argue that he was 22, Mark. It's not like he was 52. It doesn't matter. He's an adult. Look at this. The pictures don't lie. I mean, that is nauseating. You see some of the other pictures that they have. Look at this. Look at this picture here. This is, even if you didn't, say, hey, what? Hey, yeah, what are the ages of the people in this picture right here? What I would say 7, 8. Here, 20, 25. Look at this. This is crazy. Look at the difference. It's just, and he knew it was wrong. And that's the thing. He knew, as well as everybody else in the room. All the other adults knew this was wrong because his own daughter. See, they had bigger 9-year-old bride given switching by teacher withheld from school. That's not The Onion. That's a real headline. That isn't. So you see, this is their daughter. Imagine being 17 and your mom is like 20, 26. He objected, this pedophile, this sexual predator, objected to his own daughter getting married at 17 to a 20-year-old. Now, 17 and 20 is light years different than 22 and 9. And he objected because he knew it was wrong. And it was wrong. It's mind-boggling to me. You see these pictures, and here she is as an older woman. She died, I think, in 2006. Crazy. It's just wrong. So you look at the numbers here. 67% of the children were age 17. 29% of the children were age 16. 4% were age 15, and less than 1% were age 14 and under. There were 51 cases of 13-year-olds getting married and 6 cases of 12-year-olds getting married. That's crazy. Even out of 200,000 cases, that's still crazy. And that's just the United States. We're not looking at numbers in the Middle East. So that's about as into the weeds as I'd like to get on this. It's not a very happy subject, but one that I had to talk about again because it's part of history. Unfortunately, it's still a part of current contemporary history, having these religious zealots, fundamentalists pushing to get rid of the age of consent, to get rid of minimum age to get married. That's just, I can't even begin to understand why somebody would want to do that other than they're sexual predators. Other than that, that's all I get. That's all I got. So I'm glad this YouTuber pointed out I wasn't clear enough in the video, and hopefully it's clear enough now. The child is always the victim in these circumstances.
Now go home and get your fucking shine box.